Hey everybody, I'm just very relaxed and I'm very satisfied right now because I have tried to film this video so many times, but something kept me from making this video, and ironically, you know what kept me from making the PixelBook rant? The PixelBook. I'll get into why, but yeah, ironically, this device is so unpredictable and so slow that it in itself has tried to run away from me and say, no, don't talk about me, don't show my features, don't show how the software works. It is literally ran as hard as it could away, but luckily we figured out how to boot it back on so that we can critique it for you. Google themselves tried to take it away from me on Twitter. We didn't contact them. They just showed up and said, you have a defective device, please bring it back. It wasn't defective. They just didn't want to tell us how to hard reset it anyway. Here is your Apple Sheep extensive rant, not review, on the Google PixelBook. Man, I really have a hard time deciding where to start with this thing, so let's just go off of design, because that's usually what people like about this product, right? You may hear a lot of YouTubers say that this is very solidly built, and its aesthetic is very, very nice, but personally, you can call me Apple Sheep, or I prefer MacBooks all you want, but I find the corners and the edges of the PixelBook a little bit sharp. I feel like it was not designed ergonomically. For one, for the sake of aesthetics and Google wanting to be themselves and look like a Pixel product, they had to put this giant slab of glass on the top that serves no functional purpose. I personally am not a fan of this trend of adding glass on the back or the front of a device for no apparent reason. I don't like it when the Apple TV did it on the Apple TV remote. Before you say I'd be okay with it if Apple put a logo on there, no, I wouldn't. If Apple made this as a laptop, I would hate it. The glass serves no functional purpose. It's just another way to break. Then on the bottom, we have this giant rubber pad that sort of keeps the laptop in check, but it's got this little rubber strip at the bottom and this rubber strip on the top. And you know what I like about MacBooks with their 4 rubber feet on the bottom? They don't collect a lot of dirt over time. You only come in one color with this PixelBook. First of all, if you want to get complicated into fashion trends and aesthetics, this is only available in one color option, and this immediately collects dirt very, very quickly on both the rubber pads, and we haven't even opened up the device yet. So for one, you just got a bunch of aluminum, you got glass here, you got rubber here, a whole lot of rubber with the PixelBook design, and it automatically fails my MacBook test that I like to run with all MacBooks, is that it should be easy for it to be sitting on a desk, and as soon as I want to open this bad boy up and start doing some work, I should be able to have one finger, pick it up, lift, and pull the whole thing open. I try to do that on the PixelBook and it starts scooting back because the rubber base on the bottom is not strong enough to support itself. And there's almost an equal amount of weight in the bottom part of the PixelBook than there is on the top part of the PixelBook, which means the sharp edges make it harder to open compared to a MacBook, which is more rounded, so lifting it up in the middle is easier. This is not an argument of logos before you start commenting that in the comment section. If Apple made this, he'd be okay with it. Apple doesn't make this. That's why I'm not okay with it. It's trying very, very hard to go for that MacBook aesthetic. I've presented this laptop to so many people as we've unboxed it and tried to use it. And you know what they all say whenever I ask them, like, hey, how much do you think this is worth? They all said $400 to $500. No one even tried to guess over $500 because that would be insane. But should I save price for later? Man, I do not know where to go with this. That's why it's called a rant. So you open this guy up and the aesthetics don't get much better. For one, you have obnoxiously large bezels, especially for a product that was released in the last half of 2017. And even by MacBook standards, these bezels are fairly big. You've got one giant chin at the bottom, which serves the purpose of being a chin. I guess Pixel likes chins, if you look at the history of Pixel products. So I guess that actually does fit in with the aesthetic. Then you have a different sized bezel for the forehead, which is not the same size as the chin bezel, and then 2 bezels on the side that are not the same distance, so OCD people, I think, would have problems with this from the get-go. It's just off. Everything feels a little weird. Then, of course, swivel this bad boy out to the keyboard layout, and I don't know about you, but I see a lot of wasted space here. See, what I appreciate about the 12-inch MacBook is that, while yes, the keyboard goes from edge to edge of that device, they made sure they made a smaller MacBook they could with a full-size keyboard, but they put a speaker grill up here with fairly decently sounding speakers. The PixelBook just has this giant slab of aluminum at the top serving no purpose. It's just kind of there. Maybe to complement the very thick chin, they were like, hey, let's have a big aluminum forehead for the keyboard. So yeah, immediately as I open it, I see a lot of wasted space. And then what else do we find? More rubber for you to rest your hands on, which yes, will collect dirt. Not that the MacBook keyboard is okay, because that thing went bad all the time and Apple even admitted it and replaced it for free. These rubber pads are just dirt collectors. And I can tell over time they're not going to age well, and especially when I'm paying for a premium product, rubber is usually not the first thing I want to feel when I'm interacting with a device. If you have the PixelBook and you love the rubber, if we can't get past that disagreement, you better just stop watching, please. You're gonna be annoyed by this and you're gonna feel like your time's being wasted. Not even to mention, at least on things like the Surface Go, the keyboard arrow keys, they realize like, hey, we shouldn't have wasted space when we're trying to make a light portable device, so they make the side arrow keys a lot bigger. PixelBook didn't even get that right, so they just have wasted space above the arrow keys. Not that it makes a huge difference, it's just most computer companies' devices nowadays have figured that out, like the Magic Keyboard has figured that out. Side arrow keys should take up more space, so you have more proper utilization of the limited space that you have on your laptop or your keyboard. And this is just one of the many examples showing them that they haven't really caught up yet. The PixelBook was clearly designed, not really designed, it was more asked for by a committee that said, Chromebooks are cheap. How do we make Chromebooks look good? What are MacBooks made of? We like Apple. What are MacBooks made of? Aluminum? Okay, make a Chromebook out of aluminum and put some good specs in it. Okay, that way we can charge a lot of money. That's about the extent of this thought process here. It did not go further with what type of pro apps should we have on it? What type of software should we optimize for it? What type of everyday use for pro laptops should we put on the PixelBook? None of these thoughts entered their minds at all, and you'll see that as this review continues, because currently we're still just talking about design. So once again, opening it is a bit sluggish and a bit slower than opening a typical MacBook. I think the edges are very sharp and very hard. I think the bottom base pads were not thought out as well as a MacBook's little bumper feet are. Flipping the device all the way around into tablet mode feels very, very clunky. The bezels are still very, very big even for a tablet, which I get it, you know, you want some bezel space to hold your thumbs, but this is like original iPad levels of thick bezel. We should be able to go beyond this. And not to mention, if you want to talk about the details, when you're using the PixelBook in tablet mode, the volume rocker is now backwards. Because the keyboard's been flipped around, now pressing up on the volume means that the volume goes down, and pressing down on the volume means that the volume goes up. Because they didn't really think about that, the fact that if you're using it in this orientation the way they want you to, especially if you want to have that giant chin at the bottom of the screen, I just figure because the camera's at the top, this is what they want you to use it as, because, well, when you try to flip it to this orientation, you've got one big bezel on the left, one slightly smaller bezel on the right, and then different size bezels on the top. It's just clunky. Anyway, when you use it like this, they could have simply just reversed the volume rockers so that it makes more sense that when you're using a tablet, the up volume turns volume up. Yeah, they didn't think about that. And I just like to say that I don't appreciate this form of tablet, that anytime I'm using it, I'm constantly pressing keys on the back. It's very distracting. It's very frustrating to be using a device and you're constantly feeling clicks going around on the back. It doesn't feel as solid or as thought out as a typical iPad, which just has metal on the back, you know, just a standard device. You know, you hold it, it feels good in the hand. This does not feel good in the hand because the unibody is sharp. Edges that cut into your hands, and on the back, you got buttons being pressed up and down. Luckily, they thought enough to deactivate them when you flip it into tablet mode. Knowing Google, I feel like they almost could have forgot to do that and just have the keyboard go off, but you'll see that there's more problems to come. So before I finish my thoughts on design, I have to mention to anyone out there who just wants to say the PixelBook is very solidly designed, it's a very clean look, it's a very premium feel. I want anyone out there who has the PixelBook to just close it for a second and realize that you can literally press the center of the PixelBook right here and click the trackpad while the device is closed. That's how much thought went into this. The fact that the trackpad is not solid state one like a MacBook. The fact that when you're picking this up, you're actually interacting with the device on the inside. They're so close together, and this device fluctuates so much that you can literally click the trackpad when the laptop is closed. That is not thought out. That is called rush design, and that is showing you how much this thing fluctuates just by holding it in a normal way. I can click away on this thing very easily. And okay, for now, let's finally get into the main star of the show, the software. So for those of you who don't know what Chrome OS is, it's basically Google Chrome. So Google Chrome is available on Windows or Mac OS. It's a free browser that you can download and just use, and that's about the extent of what Chrome OS can do. Seriously, counter me with that. Like Chrome OS can, it can run docs, it can do YouTube. Yeah, that's what Chrome does. That's what most browsers do. And that's why most Chromebooks don't cost that much money, is because there's not much to the software. I know it can run Play Store apps. We're gonna get into that in a second. So So first of all, my main problem with Chrome OS is that it was designed for devices with keyboards and mouse, which means that if you want to continue to use Chrome OS when you're in tablet mode, you are going to be interacting with a desktop-like layout, not the standard mobile version of YouTube that most iPads have that are optimized, that support split screen and adjustable split screens. No, on this you're using a desktop-like layout, but with a touchscreen interface, which means that basically as long as you're using Chrome OS, you shouldn't be using tablet mode because it doesn't make much sense. They recently, since the release of this product, activated a split screen mode, but it's safe to say it's definitely not as optimized as iOS is, because you can have slide over multitasking, you can have split view multitasking, you can have split view with one app taking a third of the screen up or the other third of the screen up. There's lots of different options with multitasking on iPads, and keep in mind, iPads are starting at $330 here. This is starting at $1,000. So that's awkwardness number one. So that means as long as you're using Chrome OS, better keep it in this orientation because you're gonna need that trackpad and keyboard. So similar to my complaints with the Surface Go keyboard, this trackpad is more of a diving board type design, which again means that if you want to properly utilize the limited space you have with this laptop, I would think that every part of the trackpad should click, don't you? Yeah, that would make sense. Oh wait, when you start clicking up here, the trackpad no longer clicks. Maybe I've just been spoiled with my MacBook keyboard, but you can click on it at any part of the trackpad because that's what a trackpad is for. You move your finger around on it and you click. And similar to the Surface Go keyboard, except that was an accessory, this is literally built into the device, you can't click the top portion of the trackpad, which if you're trying to convert MacBook users with this thing, you might want to try to bring over some of the good features. That would be one of them. And if you're paying $1,000+ for a device, which by the way, we got the configured higher one, so this one is actually $1,600 because it has the best CPU and all the storage and all the RAM, which is going to come in real handy later in this review when we start running the Play Store apps. Either way though, this trackpad, I don't like it. It's too small for a device of this size. I like that with Apple's MacBooks, they properly utilize the amount of space on there. If there needs to be speaker grills, they add speaker grills. If there can be a trackpad there, there can be a trackpad there. There's a place for you to rest your palms, and overall, it's just a good use of space. So, as a device that is built primarily for running Google Docs, checking Gmail, and looking at YouTube videos, I have to say that it's not my favorite also, because there's no speaker grill in this thing. The speakers are internal. I don't really care what other YouTubers may tell you about the speakers. They're not very good. Honestly, the speakers on an iPad Pro sound much, much better than this. Even though they're not facing you, these speakers basically sound like they're coming out of a smartphone, just boosted up a little bit louder, which definitely upsets me when you're paying this much for a device. I feel like you should at least know where the sound is coming from and how the speakers act. In my experience with MacBook Pros, the speakers on them have been fairly decent, especially because you're paying for that top dollar price tag. If I'm paying $1,600 for something that has the software and hardware built by the same company, I would expect that the speakers should be pretty good. And they're average at best. They're incredibly average. If I'm gonna be honest with you, they're crap. It's funny to me that there are YouTubers out there that will basically just like open Google Chrome, click around on YouTube, and that's their review of how fast the device is. Look how quick this is. I can just open apps. Yeah, that's supposed to happen. In fact, you can download Chrome onto a MacBook. Boom, you have Chrome OS. Problem solved. As well as a completely other operating system that can also run pro apps made by the developer of the hardware and the software. But again, this is Google we're talking about here. So anyway, let's talk more about the Play Store apps, because Google realized Chrome OS is such a barren idea of an operating system because you can run apps like Lightroom, available on iOS, or Asphalt 8, which is available on iPads for $300 and at a much better display. By the way, in these cutaway shots, if you notice that the display of the PixelBook is flickering, that's not my shutter speed messed up. I compared the PixelBook to my iMac display. My iMac display does not have the shuttering problem. I guess they just compromised a little bit with this guy and decided, yeah, we can lower the refresh rate on the PixelBook. Who cares? No one's actually gonna buy this or expect it to be good in any way, shape, or form. So yeah, I tried many different shutter speeds and we still got the flickering of the PixelBook display. So also don't expect the display to be that good either. So anyway, as soon as I started downloading some of the flagship apps that they talked the most about, especially in that commercial that hated on how MacBooks and Windows, they're slow. You should switch to Chrome OS because Chrome OS isn't slow. There's no lag on it. Well, one of the apps they demonstrated with the PixelBook in the commercial is, hey, you can play PUBG Mobile on this. So this was my first experience with a Play Store app running on the PixelBook PixelBook, and you know what happened? There was a giant disconnect between hardware and software, not understanding how to work together. It's almost like when I said technology is not either about the hardware or the software, it's about how they work together. That's kind of important. That's kind of what keeps me in the Apple ecosystem, is because they pay attention to both the App Store, the software, and the hardware. Whereas here, it feels like they didn't pay attention to any of it. They were paying attention to the price point. So we download PUBG Mobile, and the first pop-up we see, you are going to be paired with users using keyboard and mouse because you are on a laptop, and that means you gotta be held on the same caliber of a regular desktop user. Oh, good. That seems fair. So then we move into the next setting, and I start trying to up-res the graphics, right? Because this is a $1,600 Chromebook. I expect that my Intel i7 core and my 16 gigs of RAM are gonna be able to run a simple mobile app pretty well, right? If I'm playing with the Play Store, you know, apps that are built to run on smartphones, then this should be able to run it really, really well, right? So I go into the graphics settings of the game and I try to select high, and it says, this is not available on your device. And I try to select ultra and it says, coming soon, even though this came out almost a year ago. So the maximum settings, we turned up the settings of PUBG up to maximum. You know what that is? Medium. Yeah, I can run medium at about 30? No, 30's being too generous. So we open the game, we start playing around in PUBG, and we quickly realize a problem. So like a simple keyboard and mouse game, we start using the WASD keys on the keyboard like you normally do. Our character moves around. Okay, WASD, that's working. Okay, the keyboard is communicating with the game, and then we try to look around with the trackpad. You know what happened? The mouse just fluttered across the screen going, what do you want me to do? We're in an Android app. You can't use a mouse with me. So we're just moving around the trackpad and a mouse is just flying around the screen. So obviously we're like, okay, this has to be a problem. Clearly the Play Store app doesn't realize it's loading on a PixelBook. I feel like that should be a priority given this is made by Google, but the PUBG mobile app does not realize that it is running on a PixelBook. So let's go into the settings, change up some controls, and make sure the trackpad is the looking around option, because they advertised PUBG with this device, with the Chromebook open. So clearly this has to work. We go into settings, it isn't there. You cannot configure it so that the trackpad, the mouse, is how you look around with your character. You can't not look around the map with the trackpad. But you know what you can do? You can just click on the screen and then drag it around, and that's how you look around the screen, by clicking and dragging every time you want your character to move. Click, drag, click, drag, click, drag. And that's how you look around, right? This is the experience you're looking for. Really glad they advertised PUBG Mobile in that PixelBook ad, because it sure does run great, doesn't it? Take a look. Ooh, those medium graphics settings on a 13-inch display. They look great, right? Not being able to use the trackpad, that also looks wonderful, doesn't it? Now, clearly, I know what you're all saying. You drew. You gotta flip it around, go back to tablet mode, because this cuts into your hands. It feels better. Volume's backwards. It's also where you like to hold the device, so you accidentally hit the power button several times. Yes, I understand. I'm sorry. That is clearly the better way to play PUBG Mobile, is with touch controls. And may I add that this is still a $1,600 device that literally cannot hit 30 FPS on PUBG Mobile. We're not talking about PUBG, ladies and gentlemen. We're talking about PUBG Mobile. My iPhone and iPads can hit high settings on this. They can hit higher frame rates than this $1,600 device. Now, remember in the Surface Go review where we brought up that the trackpad liked to freak out sometimes, so we used Minecraft as an example? Many of you brought up a good point, by the way, that when you reach the bottom part of the trackpad, the right click can activate. I was aware of that. Sorry, the B-roll didn't show you, but the right clicks also activated when I was clicking the center of the trackpad numerous times. Again, that's not something that everyone experiences, it's just me, but at least the Surface Go at $550 can run Minecraft pretty well. They advertised Minecraft on this thing. The day it came out, they said, hey, this PixelBook can run Minecraft. So you assume the maxed out version can run it pretty well, right? Oh, you're expecting too much from Google. You're holding expectations too high, because this bad boy couldn't hit 30. We are literally lowering the settings. Once again, trackpad did not allow you to look around. Once again, we went into the controls and said, how can we activate the mouse for this Play Store game? You can't. The mouse will just fly over the screen. You can't control where your character looks with it unless you click and drag and it interprets it as a touch input. So keep it in tablet mode, people, with the volumes being bumped and upside down and the power button right there. I know, it makes a lot of sense. That's the only way you can play Minecraft, and gotta turn the graphics low, gotta turn them down, and you will barely hit 30 FPS. Meanwhile, well, go check out a 2017 iPad. Not even a 2018 iPad. You don't even buy the newest iPad. Get last year's budget version. You can run Minecraft on high graphics settings, and don't use the argument that, well, it runs well on the Surface Go because it's Windows 10 and Microsoft owns Windows 10, so that's how Minecraft runs well. It runs well on iOS, okay? On a old budget device. 60 FPS, high graphics settings, no tinkering had to be done. It runs fine on a sub $300 device. $1,600? Nope, can't handle it. Now, is that because the i7 graphics card and 16 gigs of RAM is not capable of running Minecraft at a high frame rate? No, it's not because it isn't capable. It's because there's no optimization. People just realized at Google, hey, Chrome OS doesn't have that many apps. No one's gonna buy this laptop, so that's why they started porting over Play Store apps. This was a quick, immediate shortcut fix. They weren't thinking about it. They weren't saying, Android devs, make a bunch of apps for the PixelBook. They literally were just thinking, take Play Store, just plug it in there. Mobile apps now run on Chromebooks, and they totally work, right? Basically, you're running an Android phone emulator on this device that's not taking advantage of the good hardware that's in it, because an i7 core, pretty decent core, and these specs should not be resulting in this type of performance. Now, I'd love to hear out your arguments of how, well, Drew, it's not supposed to be a gaming device. Well, Drew, it's not supposed to do those types of things. Why do they advertise it with that? And before you bring up Apple again, I don't like that the new MacBooks advertise themselves running Fortnite. That's stupid. I don't get it. Why would they it doesn't run well. Either way, that's stupid. This is stupid as well. At least the MacBook ads aren't calling out PixelBooks directly. This ad campaign is literally calling out Windows 10 and Mac OS when it can't do crap. So I started downloading some more stock Play Store apps that I like to use, because using the touchscreen for Chrome OS was a disaster. So I just started downloading some mobile apps that are available on the Play Store, and guess what? They all start opening in portrait mode, because all these apps are going, I'm on a phone, right? I'm on a phone. Show me on a phone display. So as soon as you start doing that, you start getting all these phone apps opening up, because all of the apps are optimized for phones, and once you start blowing them up on a larger display, they just don't optimize themselves. They're not built for this, which is funny to me because YouTube is owned by Google. Even YouTube doesn't know how to properly optimize their apps for a PixelBook experience. Text is too small, bars are too tiny, packed together. It just doesn't work. It's not intuitive. Everything about it was an afterthought. Not to mention, even in regular propped up mode like this, tapping the display, it's far too wobbly. You know, I'm not a touchscreen laptop fan, but at least when you're doing it on like a Surface Pro, or I assume even a Surface Book, is less shaky than this, because anytime I tap the display on a PixelBook, it shakes like crazy. Again, this wasn't thought out. This wasn't thought through. So yeah, regular standard apps are being blown up with the text too small because they're not supposed to be on this. Even if Google made the app themselves, they didn't try to port it over. They didn't try to optimize it. They just said, it runs Android. Yeah, flop it on there. That'll work. That's fine. Nothing works well. So I figured with an i7 core, I could at least try to do some video editing, right? You know, that's something basic. That's something a $300 iPad can do with iMovie or LumaFusion. Edit 4K video, have export settings and stuff like that. $300, mind you. We should be able to pay $1,600 and get something worth it, right? So I download video editing app, and guess what? It's in portrait mode only. They can't even stretch this out to tablet mode. But I figured, I'll give it a shot. I'll try editing a video with the i7 core in portrait mode with giant black bars on the side, because why not? So I hit record video, and guess what the app says? No camera found. There's a freaking camera at the top of the PixelBook. You download Play Store app, they can't even see that a camera is attached. I wanted to try like a Twitch stream on here just for fun, just to show you guys what the stream quality was of the PixelBook camera. And as soon as I tried to go live on Twitch, there's usually an option right here that says go live. My iPhone has that. iPads have that. They have a go live option if you want to stream from your iPhone or iPad. It's very useful. This one doesn't have it. It says, no, there's no camera. What are you talking about? Is it because there's literally no camera on the PixelBook? Or does Google not know the word optimization? This is kind of important. If I want to access the camera, the software should know there's a camera. What do you gotta root this thing to get it? What do you want from me? So for one, no video editing apps. Try to remember that. Of any kind, if you want to try to record video with a third-party app, the camera cannot be found. Optimization on apps are blown up at best. If they're not blown up, they get black bars on the side. Now, like I said at the beginning of this video, video. I was really hoping of reviewing this product earlier, but then something happened because I realized that my battery was a little low, so I closed the device because I was going to be headed out for a while. I plugged in with the included USB-C charger, using the charge brick they included. I didn't use a third-party anything. Plugged it into a wall, took the cable, plugged it into the PixelBook, left for a couple minutes, come back. I open up the device and say, okay, time to shoot some B-roll, time to film this review, and this happens. Backlit strobe lights. Device will not power on. I hold the power button several times. I press the display button several times. I close it. I open it again. I unplug it. I plug it back in. Mind you, the battery was not dead. The PixelBook, it just decided to give up. So before you go off on me and how some people just want to write a Google Doc because they can't buy it on an iPad, they can't buy it on a MacBook, they need to buy it on hardware that is exclusive to doing that feature, and they wanted to do it in a reliable way, this cannot do that in a reliable way. You open up the device one day, oh, strobe lights. This is fun. We tweeted about it, made by Google, verified on Twitter, contacted us and said, is the display brightness turned all the way down? Are you plugging it in all the way? Are the charge cables we included? Yes, they were, Google, and there was no problem. So I started DMing them for more details, and you know what they said? Send it back to us. We'll send you a replacement. I said, I don't want a replacement. By the way, one of you guys on Twitter actually had the solution. To hard reset a PixelBook, you have to hold the refresh key, hold that for a long time, and then press the power button, and it hard resets it. The Made by Google team, the people who run the Twitter page, they didn't know that. They just said, oh, that product's defective. Send it back to us. They weren't like, hold the refresh key to hard reset it. They just said, nope, it's broken. Wonder if this is a common problem for them. Also, if a device is primarily focused on being a Chrome device, how come when I close it for 2 seconds, it immediately disconnects from the Wi-Fi? Every single time I open it again, it has to start searching for where'd the Wi-Fi go? Where's the Wi-Fi? I don't know where it is. iPads don't have this problem. Surface Go doesn't have this problem. MacBooks don't have this problem. You can turn the device off, you can close it, and still stay connected to the Wi-Fi. You don't have to disconnect every single time, Google. Besides, you're a Chrome OS device. You should be focused on connecting to the internet. Ugh. So before I hear all of the complaints about MacBooks not having SD card slots or being overpriced hardware that people buy just for the logo, I'm gonna refer you to this piece of junk. And if you act like PixelBook fans aren't out there and I'm just kind of beating a dead horse, I would love to read you guys some of the comments that I found on very popular YouTuber Unbox Therapy's video. When he unboxed the PixelBook, he seemed to be into it because iPhone 10 is not double the worth of a OnePlus 5, therefore it's not worth $1,000. But this, it's not like you can get this experience with a $300 Chromebook. Let me read you some of these comments here. I like the way they've placed the logo on the back. It's better than slapping it in the middle like everybody else. So logo, again, is the important thing. 72 likes that comment got. Hey, I'm Google fan. PixelBook, please. 12 likes on that one. This is way better than a MacBook Pro. Yeah, at least the PixelBook came with 2 ports instead of 1 MacBook. Oh my god. Yeah. You know what? I complained about that too. The 12-inch MacBook, it should have a USB-C port on either side. And the fact that the PixelBook does, that fixes everything. Absolutely. You know what? Completely justifies the purchase. Okay. It's been a while, but I'm gonna do it. Technology reaches its best when user interface software collaborates with hardware properly. You cannot act like one or the other doesn't matter. You cannot just slap good hardware on something and act like that's a good product. You also cannot slap your logo on something or slap a third of class on a product and expect people to like it. Unless you're gonna pay off a bunch of YouTubers to do it anyway. They're gonna open this thing and say like, oh my god, you can run YouTube, this is great. Google Docs, that makes so much sense. You can literally run these Google apps on an iPad for $300 or less if you go for refurbished. This PixelBook, you can't even use the argument that it's been out for a couple weeks. This has been out for nearly a year. They've had nearly a year to perfect this software. They haven't even tried. They haven't even come close. They have not even lowered the price. It goes on sale sometimes. They lower the price sometimes. It's still too high. If this was $500, it would still be too high. An iPad would be a better purchase. If it was $400, it would still be too high. An iPad would be a better purchase. PixelBook would be justifiable if it literally came with $40 and it was free. I'm so upset for signing up with this Pixel 3 XL contract with them that I gotta come on for the Love of Text channel so that I can review the Pixel product, because a lot of you act like I just need to try it. I just need to leave the Apple ecosystem and then I'm gonna enjoy it. I've tried over and over and over again. I get the Surface Go, it sucks. I get the PixelBook, it sucks. I tried the Google Pixel, it came out. I got the Galaxy Note 7, you know what? I liked it. And then Samsung said that might explode, bring it back. I tried the Galaxy S8, I liked it. And then it started slowing down 3 months later. Got the Galaxy S9, and you know what? Nothing changed. And it was full of a bunch of problems, and the iPhone 10 was a better purchase, and I'm gonna keep using that. Pixel 3 XL is going to be a disaster. There's going to be a Pixel Watch, it's going to suck, no one's gonna buy it. YouTubers are gonna act like they're excited for it for a month, and none of this is gonna matter because this Pixel brand is completely built on the idea of, we can be Apple too! And it simply doesn't work. doesn't work because they're not putting any effort in it. Google, you should stick to a search engine. I'm so done with you making your hardware. I bought your Google Home Max. It was great for a while, but even the headphone jack on it is laggy and broken. The volume is not completely optimized when using the headphone jack. Bluetooth is laggy as well. Sound is too distorted. I don't care that you can play Spotify on it. Spotify sucks. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I'll see you in the next one.